The enrichment of nuclear material, and now we can say it outright, the future production of nuclear weapons will continue. What? It will? A number of countries are ready to directly supply Iran with their own nuclear warheads. Whoa!
The battle damage assessment is ongoing, but our initial assessment, as the chairman said, is that all of our precision munitions struck where we wanted them to strike and had the desired effect, which means especially in Fordo, which was the primary target here.
Satellites now taking photos of the damage from the bunker buster bombs that hit Fordo and other locations in Iran. And I got a couple of cool images pulled up here that will detail what happened, because there's a little bit of a conflict that we're noticing. The first satellite images from Iran's Fordo nuclear enrichment site show that the part of the mountain protecting the facility was completely obliterated by the bunker bombs. All right. Possible bomb entry points in Rubble were visible following Trump's surprise B-2 stealth bomber attack overnight. The images now taken by Maxar Technologies shows. You see that. Now we got the once brown mountainside turned gray in parts, with the entire topography of the area changed by the detonation of 14 30,000 pound massive ordnance penetrator bombs. And we're going to zoom in on further details here. There we go. You see that. Those look like almost like if you're out at the range plinking some things, you know, some bullet holes going through sheet of metal, you know, ping, 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 kind of looks like that. And you just had a 30,000 pound bomb do that, like a bus coming into the ground and just barreling in there and then evidently exploding. And those are presumably, in other words, it would have blown out a lot of surface soil before that, right? So all of this seems like it was kind of just blown out. Now, here you see some more from the reporting. It says light gray smoke also appears to be hanging in the air over the site around 1,000 miles of Tehran, the images show. And we see, yeah, like there, you see, it looks like a lot of that is just discolored. But what you're noticing also is this building still exists. Doesn't look like anything happened to that. All these roads look good. Those look like they go into the side of the mountain, right? So like you drive in there, then you drive into the mountain through that, right? Probably bored in there. And you would imagine that the rest of the facility is just kind of buried under the side of this mountain here. Other high resolution satellite images suggest Iran sealed up the tunnel entrances at Fordo before the attack. So maybe those got sealed up. An artery of the roads that leads to the facility, with pre-images showing many vehicles lined up. Also, they say they suffered major damage along with the second site in Esfahan, while the nuclear site in Natanz has been destroyed. So major damage at some, right? Second site's like major damage. Tehran is yet to issue a damage assessment of the sites. Says Iran reportedly evacuated Fordo some time ago. The enriched uranium reserves had been transferred from the nuclear centers, and there are no materials left there that, even if targeted, would cause radiation and be harmful to our compatriots, they said. Fordo is buried deep under the mountain near Qom, meaning the tactics deployed were to cause a cave-in or subsidence into the site. Israel lacked the ordinances to do this. These are 30,000 pound bombs. They penetrate allegedly 200 feet underground and then explode. And that's what went down. So we also saw this. General Flynn posted this. He says, you see the difference? Here's a little bit of a before and after on the sites. So right there looks like was before. Then you got, you know, 3 of the plunkers, poom, 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 coming down in there, exploding and doing something in the ground, right? Obviously exploding and shattering everything that is down there. So that was one scene. Here's another one from Brady Affleck. And this shows you kind of the before and after as well, just in an image. Now, I think, wouldn't you also just take out that building? Like while you're there, that building, you just take it out. Just drop another one right on that. Is it a decoy? Is there nothing in there? Like, is that where they store their Christmas decorations or something? And it's like, whatever. It's all their Christmas decorations and whatever. Or what? I don't know what they store in there. I know that they're not Christians. Anyways, the point is that here, some more, more from them. Here we got this. Now, what's interesting about this, right, is the latest developments. They say that Iranian officials said that they were working to assess the scale of the damage. Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan from the strikes that hit early on Sunday. In a news conference on Sunday morning, they said that there was severe damage and destruction, but a final assessment would take time. Another senior official, right, so here's another one, says that the attack on the Fordo site did not destroy the heavily fortified facility, but severely damaged it, right? So it's not destroyed. Oh, so they're going to just spin up those centrifuges again in 6 months. Question for Hegseth. Is this a prolonged conflict? Is this going to be open-ended? He said this is most certainly not open-ended. He told the same news conference, he said Trump was a focused, powerful, and clear mission, and said Iran reserves all options to defend its security, said someone else, Iran's foreign minister called Abbas. We have to respond based on our legitimate right to self-defense. We'll see. More than 40,000 troops on bases in the region, all placed on high alert. U.S. officials say Iran has depleted its stockpile of medium-range missiles. The country still has a bunch of other things. And so is there more to bomb? This is the first time they've used these bombs in combat. I'm sure they're pretty excited about that too. All right, so here was another report on this, right? He again says extremely severe damage and destruction. So it sounds like the nuclear threat is removed.
Battle damage assessments indicate that all three sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction. More than 125 U.S. aircraft participated in this mission, including B-2 stealth bombers, multiple flights of fourth and fifth generation fighters, dozens and dozens of air refueling tankers, a guided missile submarine, and a full array of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance aircraft, as well as hundreds of maintenance and operational professionals.
Yeah, so a total military operation was underway. And as we heard from Trump, he said that they were totally and completely obliterated. And this is from his speech. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities, Trump said this last night, have been completely and totally obliterated. So they must now make peace. So sounds like they nailed it, right? Done. So we also see, though, that then C-SPAN comes out and they say, well, Pentagon leaders just say it was severe damage. Right? This is on C-SPAN. I noticed that language a lot and I think, okay, here we go. It's only severe damage. That's different than completely and totally obliterated. Hopefully they're actually obliterated. Now, the Russians and this guy called Dmitry Medvedev, you remember him, he used to run the place over there. Now he's the deputy chair of the Security Council of the Russian Federation. He was the third president of Russia back for 4 years when Putin was on vacation. Then he gave it back over to Putin. And so, you might say he's kind of a spokesperson or an extension of Putin or like Putin's id or something like that, or not. But here's what he posted about this. So kind of here's how the world is reacting. What have the Americans accomplished with their nighttime strikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran? He says critical infrastructure of the nuclear fuel cycle appears to have been unaffected or sustained only minor damage. The enrichment of nuclear material, and now we can say it outright, the future production of nuclear weapons will continue. What? It will? A number of countries are ready to directly supply Iran with their own nuclear warheads. Whoa! That doesn't sound good. He posted a bunch of stuff a little out of order. It says, Israel is under attack, explosions are rocking the country, and people are panicking. The U.S. is now entangled in a new conflict with prospects of a ground operation looming on the horizon. It says Iran's political regime has survived, and in all likelihood has come out even stronger. The people are rallying around the country and their spiritual leadership, including those who were previously indifferent or opposed to it. As Donald Trump once hailed as the president of peace, has now pushed the U.S. into another war. The vast majority of countries around the world oppose the actions of Israel and the United States. That's from Dmitry Medvedev, and obviously a pretty provocative statement. Now, I also saw the Prime Minister of India also came out, and so we're looking around the world. What are other people saying? He said this, spoke with the president of Iran in India. We discussed in detail the current situation, expressed deep concern at recent escalations, which was from us, America, reiterated our call for immediate de-escalation, dialogue, and diplomacy as a way forward and for early restoration of regional peace, security, and stability. So which escalations is the Indian Prime Minister concerned about? And how is the rest of the world reacting to this? Iran also now threatening, reportedly, according to Axios, to close the Strait of Hormuz, which could spike oil prices. Axios reporting this today, saying Iran's parliament has endorsed closing of the Strait of Hormuz, a vital oil transit point off its coast, but the authority rests with the security officials, saying this matter is a big deal because there's a lot of resources that go through there. The threat is among the initial responses. Trying to block the strait would be the first time that the Israeli-Iran conflict meaningfully affects global oil flows. But Iranian efforts to close the strait and attack infrastructure in the Persian Gulf are unlikely to happen, saying the U.S. has amassed a massive military presence in the Gulf and the surrounding region, and a move by Iran against the strait would almost certainly trigger a significant military response. Yeah, Eurasia said Iran is also unlikely, so it's nukes and the oil, says is unlikely to hit strike targets while its own exports remain intact. Increased Iranian harassment of tanker traffic is likely in the coming days. So Hegseth got another question about this, saying, what is the actual damage of this? Are they going to be able to re-compromise their destroyed capabilities?
What will be your next step if Iran or militias under Iranian influence on the region attack U.S. interests or allies in the region?
And you can chime in on this too, Mr. Chairman. The battle damage assessment is ongoing, but our initial assessment, as the chairman said, is that all of our precision munitions struck where we wanted them to strike and had the desired effect, which means means especially in Fordo, which was the primary target here, we believe we achieved destruction of capabilities there. Ultimately, wherever it may be, whether it's in Iraq or Syria or bases in the Gulf, as the chairman said, it would be a very bad idea for Iran or its proxies to attempt to attack American forces.
Yeah, and if that happens, God forbid, what will our response be? Guys like Lindsey Graham are already out and about being very Lindsey Graham-y, and here's what he said.
Last night they were attacked. The early morning hours of today, after the attack by President Trump, Israel fired ballistic missiles into Israel, wounding Israeli citizens. 24 have been killed. This regime is not going to be tolerated by Israel, is what he told me.
Uh-oh, so someone told him that this regime is not going to be tolerated by Israel. So Israel is going to be doing the regime change on their own. John Bolton would be very excited about that. John Bolton, you know him as the Walrus, who, an interesting time in government before he was revealed to be a walrus of war, says President Trump did the right thing for America. Oh, great. John endorses it. We're all extra concerned. But he says it's not enough, which is good because John's crazy. Remember, he wants to bomb everybody. That's why Trump had him in the first administration. He says, I just bring John Bolton into the room. Everybody's like, we're getting bombed. All right, whatever you want. All right, John Bolton's like sitting here, like, yes, we're going to nuke your whole country. Get ready for it. So Bolton said, Trump did the right thing for America in striking Iran's nuclear weapons program. Now, on to regime change. He like just finished breakfast and he's like, what's for lunch? And dinner, by the way. Where are we going for that? And a lot of people say, just shut up. No, okay, we're done with your little neocon garbage, John. Go brush your stash.